Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining us today. And I'm going to start with a really quick scenario that I want you to think about. You're an author. You've just finished your book. It's published. It's out there. Congratulations. And now could take a big, deep breath. You could sit back and relax because the hard part is over. You've published. Or is the hard part not over? Now those books have to sell, and those books aren't going to sell themselves. And guess who it's up to sell the books? And it doesn't matter if you've gone self publishing, traditional publishing, whatever you've done, it's up to you to sell those books. So, how do you handle that? What do you do? And do you ever feel pressured regarding selling your book or books? Or have you been pressured in the past? So, I'm going to go around. And Stephanie, I'm going to go to you first, Steph. Introduce yourself and then give us your thoughts, your insights, because we're all published authors. So give your insights on selling books, and is there pressure to do that?
Sure. My name is Stephanie Malink. I own Malink Publishing, which has three businesses under it: Write by Steph, a full service professional writing and editing agent, and then the Collinsville Daily News, and newly launched the Granite City Daily News. Those are two virtual newspapers. I am also a three-time author, three full books and a chapter in an anthology, and three of the four of those have gone to bestseller, best new release, some type of sales achievement. And for me, that's good. I'm okay with that. For me, I write books because I want to educate people and I want to make a little money at it. If I get an award, great. You can't promote them off of Amazon anyway, when you're self-published. But it's a way to get there. I know a lot of people, since I have done editing of books, that they get their book done, they buy 50 copies, and they sit in their basement. And they do absolutely nothing to promote their book. Or I'll be sitting with them editing, and I'll just have a discussion with them while they're looking for something. How do you plan on marketing your book? I don't need to market my book. I'm like, really? How are people going to find your book? Oh, everyone knows who I am. I'm like, I don't think so. Even if you're the president of the United States or a CEO of a major corporation, everyone does not know who you are. They don't know your story, and they don't know what you have to contribute to the world. That's why being an author is such a wonderful thing. Everyone has something that they can share with the world and that someone else needs to know about. You just need to do it on your own time schedule. But don't put in all that work and pay people to edit or to be beta readers or pay to get a fancy publisher and then not do anything with your work. Get it out there and do it. Pound the pavement. If you don't want to do a big national thing, go to local book festivals and book fairs around you. I do that. That's actually where I do the most of my sales, is when I go to book fairs, and I'll go to set up pop-ups at coffee shops or different things.
Now, do you ever feel pressure to sell your books?
No, I did not feel pressured.
Okay. I thank you for your insights. And you said something that I want to touch on a little bit more, that, oh, everybody knows me. Well, like you said, everybody doesn't know you unless you're a celebrity, unless you're a famous author that has published books that stay on the number one bestsellers list, that stay on the New York Times bestsellers list. Not everybody knows you. And the way for people to get to know you is through social media, through in-person events, through word of mouth, any of those things, even through your workplace. And to me, that takes effort, and you need the consistency. because once you're not consistent, even with celebrities, people know them, but if they're off the screen for any length of time, they have to make a comeback. Everybody then moves on to somebody else. So I appreciate that you said that about, somebody saying, "Oh, everybody knows me, my book is out there." No, that's not the case. You still have to do the work to get your book known. And how much work you do really depends on how you really want to sell that book, how well you want the book to do, and how many people you want to get the message. So, with that, I'm going to go to Tiffany.
Hi, good morning. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning. This is a really, really great question. Again, I'm Tiffany Williams Parra. I am the editor in chief of Phoenix Fitness Fanatics magazine. I am the 10-time author, a 10-time best-selling author, mostly anthologies. I have 5 anthologies as a visionary author as well. To tell you the truth, with the reason why I write books and why I inspire people to write books is to really get their stories out there so they can inspire and really change lives. In the anthology realm, I will say that I have seen so many people transform in sharing their story. I mean, that sometimes can be such a load off your shoulder and just a release, from just your energy, because you might be holding on to something that you really do need to release that other people need to see. When it comes to the book sales, to tell you the truth, I honestly give away a lot of books because I really want to inspire my community, and I want to inspire, the young people out here to continue to write and continue to share their gifts, because people aren't doing that anymore. They're not being inspired. They're doing this all the time, and they're so disengaged. So I feel that there's really no pressure in selling the books. For me personally, I have talked to some of my co-authors, and yeah, they are under a bit of pressure because they really want to put that book out there so much to share that they, have accomplishments, and they want to make some money. Everybody wants to make some money off of, their accomplishment, that what they put out there. But I will tell you, you will not get rich on a book unless you are, a huge, you've been on that best-selling author, status on. Take a deep breath, get your works out there, and just inspire and encourage people, because that's what it's all about. So there's really no pressure, Teresa, in selling books. Again, I just like to give away. Sometimes they're also a really good business card, because when you're sharing your story and you're sharing some of, your talent, skills, and abilities in your stories, people look at that and they're like, hey, I'm a coach. I am a coach in so many ways. So when you're reading my story and you're reading about the things that I have overcome, you may want to come to me because I'm the authority in that particular, realm, right? So that's to me how you will monetize on books, is by really showing your gifts in the books and letting people come to you. Share your books.
Thank you so much. That's so insightful. And I'm going to come a little bit from the other end. So far, 2 of my panelists, published authors, have said they don't feel any pressure to sell books. Well, I can't say that I feel a lot of pressure, but I'm also sending book proposals to traditional publishers, traditional publishing houses. And it is up to what they want to know from you when you're sending a proposal or you're looking for an agent, a book agent, is how are you going to sell the book? That's what they ask you. That's what's important. I hate to say it. Of course, it's important what your message is going to be, what you're going to write about, how your writing is, how you're expressing yourself. But the second thing they first look at your overview of your book proposal. Okay. What are you going to talk about? Is there an audience for that book? And how do you see yourself fitting in? Because we all do. I mean, there's hundreds of people that do what we do. It's when we're writing for traditional publishing, we just have to get that little niche of what are we doing that's maybe a little bit different, maybe a little bit of a twist on something, or I'm saying something in a way that maybe it catches somebody's eye a little bit more than the way somebody else is saying it. So that's the first thing. The second thing they look at is your author's platform. And you have to give an author's platform. And they're not telling you that you have to have X amount of followers, you have to have this. What they're looking for is people that are authors that are motivated to do the work to be able to sell the book. And that means you have to get the word out. So getting the word out means, okay, you could talk about it at your job, in-person events like Stephanie mentioned, also social media, and the consistency of how often are you going to post, how are you going to do this, how are you going to attract the audience, and kind of what do you believe your niche audience is. So I think with that said, that's where the pressure comes in, because we all know, like you said, unless you're really a best-selling author, and that's not the best-selling author campaigns that we all do through Amazon and everything. That's actual book sales, readership, and longevity of the book on a platform such as Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Hay House, Penguin, any of those. That's what is the longevity. So with that said, I'm going to go to Jacqueline and get her insight and feelings about things. Am I alone in feeling some of the pressure, or is anybody going to join me? Jacqueline.
No, you are not. No, you're not alone. I think that yes, there is sometimes a pressure. So first, I'm Jacqueline LL, which stands for Lulu Brown, and I'm a best-selling co-author and a senior editor, transformational speaker, coach, and a progressive pastor. And books, believe it or not, become very important when you're in any type of community work, faith-based work, and when you're a teacher. And so as a retired, which is totally different, as a retired global technology executive, now founder of Revolution Ascension and the Ascend Her Academy, which empowers women to embrace their divine feminine leadership, heal through purpose, and to rise into prosperity, authenticity, and their next dimension of living. So, having said that, from the perspective of teaching, coaching, ministerial counseling, and pastoring, sometimes having your books not just published, but actually on that path that it is continuously year after year, no matter how many years it's been since you have published, it's sometimes important that it is on a continuous sales cycle. And that's because sometimes what you're doing is bringing a purpose to draw people from a particular place in their life. If I can use this as an example, excuse me. And so, to Tiffany's point and Stephanie's point, and as well as Teresa, all of the components that they talked about are important. And people will push their sales for different reasons. If you are really using your book for, let's say, your calling card and speaking, you may utilize just giving it out or not pushing the sales so much. You may be also doing a lot of readings. It all depends on what is your strategy and your goal. So the first thing I would say is that before you decide whether it's important to sell it or not important to sell it to make money, What is your strategy? What's the bigger picture of why you wrote the book to begin with? And this is for anthologies and everything else. And then when it is important, when it's part of your agenda, no one knows that but you, when it's important for you to sell your book, I'm going to sort of tap into what Teresa said. You know that your book carries a purpose, and every copy is really a tool for transformation, for healing, for education. So you have to know, is selling that book, is that going to expand your impact? Because you may be selling it not necessarily, oh God, I need to make X amount of money, but you may be selling it to increase your impact. And then there could be building legacy. Maybe selling your book ensures that your message reaches beyond your friends and your family. And then let's go to that part of the return on your investment, your resources, the emotion. And, selling honors your labor. When you say, you know what, I'm going to get out here and I'm going to sell this and I'm going to make sure that it does well, you're honoring your labor. And then, listen, sold books opens doors. Speaking, coaching, consulting, collaborations, all of these are often open. These doors are often open through you actively selling your book. But the biggest question is, how do you sell? Do you know how to do that? And so I think that's a big piece of it, is seeking the help that you need. Who do you need to ask yourself? Who do you need to engage to sell your book? How do you do that? Your book carries the purpose and it carries opening these doors. We've all talked about that. But are you prepared for any of the barriers? Maybe you don't like selling. What are you going to do about that? How do you sell a book, but you're not a salesy? You just don't like selling. What if you feel you're the type of person that I don't want to be pushy? Or do you think that the book is just going to sell itself? So you may need to invest in getting some help to do that. You've got to have a sales plan. The book, some people say, well, it'll sell itself. I don't really know about that. Now, I know I hear people say that, oh, the book is going to sell itself. It's going to, the title alone is going to sell itself. I don't know that that is necessarily true. So I just want you to think about how you're going to sell it. Not so much, am I going to sell it? Do I have to sell it? How? Because when you dig into the how, when you start a sales strategy, when you learn your audience, who's reading the book, who's the book for, when you define, you have a plan to define your offers, paperback, ebooks, signed copies. Are you going to go and do readings? Are you going to do bundles with a workbook? And how much of that do you want to do? What's your strategy? Are you going to have simple things like QR codes, table displays? Are you going to do Amazon? Are you going to do PayPal? These are all questions to ask yourself. Are you going to do this through partnerships? I may partner with Tiffany, and I may say, Tiffany, I'm going to be doing this at this event. Would you bring your book? And the two of us are going to go into Barnes and Noble. And people are going to have an opportunity that I'll be set up here, you'll be set up there. And, people can we're going to have a book fair in a bookstore. Partnerships, think about that. Email lists, do you even have one to announce it? Sales funnels. There's so many things. And I think what we want to do today is just give you all the perspectives. So Teresa, hopefully I've kind of, because I was thinking of teetering towards both sides of it. So hopefully I've helped answer that, because I think all of that is important. And the biggest thing is the why, the strategy, and the how.
Yeah. And what you touched on was what I was going to talk about next, is actually a book proposal. I know
Yep.
a lot of people say, oh, well, I'm publishing myself. I don't need a book proposal because a book proposal traditionally was to go to a publisher.
Hmm.
And it takes a while to do that. But I really believe, and I've done a couple of book proposals already, and trust me, they're not easy, but once you actually get the hang of it, they become very interesting and they become a major tool for you because it tells you when you do a book proposal, it's telling you how you intend to sell that book. Do you, like you said, do you need help? Some people get marketers. If you're not a salesperson, I'm not a salesperson. When I first published my book, Heal Your Heart from Within, I was working a long time in a private cardiology practice, and I do the holistic cardiology piece in that practice. And boom, I sold almost 2,000 books as soon as the book came out because the practice bought the book for their patients. And our practice had about 2,000 patients, at least, maybe more. So right away, my sales went right up, and I didn't have to do anything because the practice said this is essential. Every patient that comes in, and this also was right after 2020. So there was a big need for people to have resources, and we gave them that. And people loved getting the free book because the practice paid for it. They loved it. Most of them read it cover to cover. And for me, it was very simple. I didn't have to do a thing. Well, after that, the sales went down. So yeah, after that, I did have to do something, but I figured out I'm not really good at it. But if I could market myself a lot through social media, through posts, through giving people bits and pieces of the information of the book, that's how I could help my sales. So that's really what the book proposal taught me, because no, I didn't do a book proposal or an outline when I first wrote and published my book. I just knew what I wanted to say because it had been percolating for 20 years at that point. But I never felt that the time was right to really get out there with that information. That wasn't the traditional, it was a combination of traditional Western and Eastern medicine philosophy and all. So it was only after I figured out that, yeah, I do have to sell my book and writing book proposals that gave me the tool to really say, this is how I'm going to sell my book. So with that said, I'd like to go to Steph and find out, what is your best tool for selling your book? What works best for you?
I would say for me, the best tool so far has been events. I mean, going to established book fairs, especially around the holidays. I have lots of friends that have small businesses, asking them if I can bring my table and setting up for a little pop-up event, trying to build those events around specific holidays or anything. My last book was a business book, so I released it around Small Business Saturday, around Thanksgiving. Knowing your audience and knowing what's going to work when is very important. My book, the ABCs of Living Independently When You're Older or Frail, I knew that one had to be out by October because my target audience was insurance agents and financial planners that were getting ready for Medicare open enrollment and everything. So I knew I had to have my product finished by then and launched. And unfortunately, like Teresa, it resulted in a couple big bulk sales early, but the sales have even died off from that. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's, I think too, then, how consistent do we become, or how consistent does anybody become? And again, it goes back to how important are those book sales to you and what you're using them for. And I hope that's what our audience is getting today, is that it's not just a matter of writing a book, publishing a book, selling a book, but what's important to you when you do that. And do you have a strategy up front? Or, like me, did your strategy come after you already published the book and had to find a way then to create something else to get the book going with momentum? Tiffany, I'm going to go to you.
I honestly love events. I love events because I just love getting to people's faces. So I love going and doing pop-ups. You can really help to elevate other businesses as well. So partnering with a coffee shop, partnering with, a local bookstore, uh, bookstores aren't, a lot of them aren't doing really well, especially, some of these local owned books out there, because people are going to get excited when you get there, and you work with them to have them help you to be the star, right? And they really just make a big deal out of it. I've had a few really awesome events that way. I'm even working with the woman that does my braids right now, because she has an amazing little location, and she wants to do a book club. So even partnering with people that want to do book clubs and saying, okay, I'm going to sell my book at, even a discounted rate for the book club, and you get your book out there as well. So there's so many really creative ways that you can sell your books. And again, I love events. I love, vendor events, because I also get to take some of my other stuff out there too and kind of showcase. So I make it a big deal.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you. I've been doing a little bit work with our library, and actually I did do a talk at our public library, and I gave them a copy of the book. So they have a copy there. And what I've done is, it's not a sale, but I've gone back periodically, and because they keep track of who borrows the books, I was able to see that there was quite a bit of interest in it, and people were borrowing the book and returning it. So that made me also feel good that I was able to do something that wasn't getting me any sales, wasn't going to really show up in certain analytics. But at the same time, it was another way of me getting that message out there. And now I'm going to go to Jacqueline. We have a few minutes left. So, Jacqueline, what are your thoughts about this?
I'm an extrovert, much like Tiffany. I love getting out with the people and talking and chatting. And, I love being out at events where there are other vendors. And it provides you an opportunity to go further than just the book. Because 9 times out of 10, even after your book, there may be some other service that you're offering. Example, retreats are big for me. And it can be all different types of retreats with different themes. But one of the retreats is, because long before I ever wrote anything, I was an avid reader, an avid studier, and I love to teach. So what I would do is I would give these books, backstory, real quick, I would give books away. I used to come with other people's books that I love to read. And I'm talking about a stack of books of all different authors. And I just used to give them out. Mother's Day, Father's Day, any church program or community event, I would be there. And after I gave my talk, I would give books out. And so now I have my own books, but getting out in the community, having the conversations and talking with people, because what you're really doing is you're getting even validation. Is what you're writing about on point? Because people, that's really how you're going to get that feedback. Now, if you want to scream up and down how many reviews, how many people, seriously, how many people do you think really leave a review? Especially if they don't know you. And so they say, I'm going to leave a review, and sometimes they don't. But it gives you an opportunity to have that FaceTime. So I think events are great. I'm with Tiffany. And if the holidays are coming up, but I would also say go into the malls, go into your bookstores, those little boutiques, and just ask them, hey, can I come in on a day? And you can just be sitting there, and as you see people coming into the store, ask the person, that the owner, when I see the store get really busy, can I start just reading? And just start reading, because when people are walking in, if you're sitting there reading, if there's 10 people in that store, they're going to start doing this, and then they're going to start walking over. And then when those 10 people, the people in the mall walking by, are going to see people standing, and they're going to want to know, what is that? And so you can draw a crowd. There's so many ways that you can draw crowds. So I know that we are out of time. I hope and pray that there's something that the four of us said that will encourage you folks to have your strategies, and just feel free to ask questions. Ask questions. Inbox any of us. You see our names. we're all out there. So inbox us. Ask us any questions that you may have. But I love the fact that the writers retreat actually is not necessarily for people that want to write a book. If you don't want to write a book, you can go to the writers retreat to heal, because that's what I do. The writers retreat is writing to heal. So it's your own transformation. It's not just because you want to write or sell a book, but writing is a way of healing. Thank you, Teresa. I yield back to you.
Oh, thank you. I'm just going to close this with, I think we gave a lot of good information today. I think, like you said, do we feel pressure selling the book? Yeah, we could, but at the same time, there's always strategies. And I think for anybody who is an author looking to be an author, don't let anything stop you. Go out there. It may be better to have a plan, but sometimes you don't need a plan. Right. Sometimes you could just put yourself out there, do it, and figure it out kind of step by step as you go along. Yeah. So I hope everybody enjoyed this conversation. Maybe at a later point, we could actually do a little bit more with this confirmation, with this topic. Yes. So until next week, I thank everybody for being here. I thank all our subscribers to the Own It and the Phoenix Fitness magazine. I thank everybody who's watching. We appreciate you all. And I say, go be an author, go do it. Thank you so much for joining us today.